All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to San Antonio Zoo. My name is Jessica, and this is Lindsay, and we are both animal care specialists that take care of our lions. We're going to do a really quick training session with our two female lions. So I'm sorry if my mask rubs on the mic a little bit while we're doing that. Give me a few minutes to do the session, and then we will come back to all your questions and tell you a little bit more about our lions. Oh, okay. So while we wait for people to find the Facebook Live, these are our African lions. Out today we have our male and two females. We have Tao, that's the boy, over to the right hand side. Then in the middle here is Excel, his daughter. And then over here waiting patiently and impatiently at the training wall is the mom, Sarabi. Mom and dad are both 11 years old, and their daughter Excel is 5. Well, she'll be 5 in July, actually. They get so big so fast.
How did the cubs get their names?
Their cubs got their names from a very generous donor. Tony Parker actually won a bidding for the naming rights of our lions, and so Excel is actually named after his wife's name, and then the two boys that were born at the same time, her brothers, are Tony and Josh.
How old are they?
The lion cubs are going to be all 5 in July, and then mom and dad are both 11. Tao will turn 12 in October, and Sarabi will turn 12 in November. Do you want us to start the... All right, so now we're going to start our training session, so just give me a few minutes. You'll probably hear me saying a couple cues to Sarabi through the mic, and I can answer any questions about that afterwards as well. All right? Sarabi. Sit. Good girl. Good girl. No, sit. Open. Open. Good. Good. Up. Good girl. Down. Good girl. Open. Good. Oh. Excel doesn't want to play today. Sarabi. Sit. Good girl. Down. Open. Sit. Sit. Paw. Up. Down. Good girl. Sit. Paw. Open. Open. Oh. Down. Good girl. All done. All done. Oh. As you can see, she kind of enjoys the training session, doesn't want it to end. Your daughter's being a little shy this morning. I think she wants to play instead of do a little work. All right.
So we do have a couple of questions.
All right.
A few people would like to know what the whistling means.
So the whistling is what we call a bridge, and the bridge lets the animal know that they've completed whatever I've asked them to do, and that now the reward is coming. In this case, meat. So when she sat down with her, like when I asked her to sit and she sat with her butt on the ground and her front legs stretched out and her mouth closed, I made the whistling sound, and that let her know that is what I wanted her to do, and then I could give her the reward, because you can't always get the reward fast enough, and sometimes they'll break form if you try to just give them the meat, and then they get rewarded for the wrong thing. So the bridge is for us to communicate, yes, that's what we wanted, and here's your reward for it.
So often a lot of people ask, how do you make or why do you make the animals do these behaviors? But can you explain what XL was doing when she chose not to come over?
So she just decided not to participate. This is all voluntary. So Excel decided, you know what, I'd rather go sit in the grass and play than come over and get a little extra treat today. And now she's gonna wrestle mom. So, but yeah, it's all voluntary. If Sarabi didn't want to do that, the stuff I was asking her to do, she could walk away and ignore me. And cats are very good at ignoring you. So that is a skill that they have. So everything's optional. There's nothing, no punishment involved in not participating. It's all on their terms.
So tell us about this really cool window.
So this really cool window, when we did the renovations a couple years ago and revamped this, we put in this training wall. So it gives us an opportunity to do, like what you saw, husbandry training sessions in front of our guests. So it gives you a little different view of what we do with the cats. It also provides an area where we can do tug of war. So you'll see there's a pipe in the middle of the wall here, and that's for us to put a rope through. Some people may have been fortunate enough to see us do a tug of war session. It's not something we do all the time, mostly because if we did it all the time, the cats would get bored and definitely not participate. So when we keep it very varied as to when we do it and like how long we do it, the cats will stay more engaged and be more willing to participate. If you have cats at home, you know, they get bored very easily if they see something every single day. So same thing goes with these cats, and you can't make a 300 to 400 pound cat do something they don't want to do. So it's very limited as when we do it. But if you do want to see Excel, the daughter, she actually was in a viral video. You can look it up on YouTube, Lion Tug of War against WWE wrestlers, where she defeated some WWE professional wrestlers. And there's nothing, we did not rig it for her. She just beat them purely on her own strength. So,
What's the whipped cream for?
the whipped cream is like an extra, like a jackpot. So the meat is great. They like the meat. That's their favorite type of meat. But the whipped cream is something a little bit extra when they do something like above and beyond our expectations, or we're asking them to do something that they aren't sure if they really want to put in that much effort for. You just have to up the reward. So it's like if I asked you to, you know, I don't know, make your bed, and I gave you, I don't know, a cookie. But then I asked you to clean the house, a cookie is not going to suffice. That's a lot more work than making your bed. But maybe going out to dinner would be a better reward for cleaning the whole house. So now I've upped the value, and it makes it a little bit more, okay, maybe I'll do that then. So think of it in that terms. It's an exchange.
So Gloria is asking, she is viewing some of these behaviors as being more circusy and is under the impression that the zoo is meant to keep the animals as close to the wild as possible. So can you explain the purpose of the training?
Yeah, so husbandry training is to help us take better care of them. It's for their health care. So having her open her mouth, for instance, lets me look inside her mouth and keep track of her dental health. That way, if there's something going on in her mouth, we can let the vets know. If she puts her paws up on the fence and I can see her belly, I can see if she's got any scratches there. Actually, that behavior was how we were able to realize that she was pregnant about a month and a half before she gave birth. Otherwise, it might have been a surprise because female animals don't really show when they're pregnant because that makes them a target to other animals. So they can be very sneaky, and lions only have about a 3.5 month pregnancy. So it's really fast. The fact that we had a month and a half notice let us get prepared the best we could for the cubs coming. Putting her paws on the fence also lets us see the bottoms of their feet. It's very hard to see when they're walking around, but they can get like a thorn in their foot, or when the weather is really cold and dry, they can get cracks in their skin just like we do with our hands. So if that happens, we can put an ointment on there because she'll put her paw up and I give her a treat and I'm able to treat her stress-free. Otherwise, if we don't do these husbandry trainings, anytime we want to check on their health, we would have to fully anesthetize them to safely do that. And that's a lot more strain and stress on their systems. And we want to make this as stress-free as possible.
Lindsay would like to know how long lions can live in the zoo versus in the natural environment.
So average for lions in the wild is going to be about 8 years old. Average for lions in the zoo is around 16, so about double their lifespan. Here at our zoo, we've actually had a couple lions make it up to 24, 25 years of age, so like above and beyond even the average lifespan in zoos. So it's amazing what the proper diet, exercise, mental exercise, and 24-hour healthcare can do for your longevity.
When mom has to be both breadwinner and mom.
Yep. Yeah, so if you're aware of, lions, the females are the ones that do the hunting. Now, that's not to say that males can't hunt, but again, it's an exchange of jobs. So when a male has a pride that he's taking care of, his main job is to patrol the territory and protect the pride from intruders. And the females are the ones that go out and they find the food and bring back food for the whole pride. Males will help sometimes on those hunts, especially if they're a particularly ambitious pride and they want to take down something very big. His extra body weight will help bring down something like a giraffe or something, water buffalo that's a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher. So, but yeah, the girls are apt hunters, and Tao just kind of hangs out and makes sure nobody comes into the territory. He's been doing an excellent job at that so far. So our nutrition center sends it down. We have the muscle meat, and then we have a ground beef-based meat that has all sorts of vitamins and nutrients ground into it. So those are the two different types of meat that they get on a regular basis. And then they'll also get what's called a bone day. And on bone day, they get a bone, and that helps them with their dental health as well. It acts kind of like a toothbrush where they can gnaw on the bone and scrape off the plaque and things like that.
How long have these lions been at the zoo?
So Tao and Sarabi came to us in 2013, so about 7 years now. And then Excel and her two brothers that aren't out right now, they were both born here 5 years ago. So it'll be 5 years in July. Now you may want to know why I just mentioned two lions that aren't out in the yard with them. The two boys, Josh and Tony, have actually gotten to the age where they would leave the pride that they're born into. So in the wild, the females stay with the pride that they're born into, and then at about 2.5 years of age, the males would all leave and go off to find their own pride somewhere. And that helps move genetics around, because if the males stayed where they were born, when they hit maturity and want to start being dads, then they would be only with their moms, their sisters, and their nieces, and that's not good for genetics. That's going to make an unhealthy population. So if they're pushed out of the pride and told to go somewhere else, they're going to go find unrelated females, and that helps the health of lions overall. So when the boys hit about 2.5 years of age, we had to move them and separate them from dad and their mom and their sister. And now we just rotate who's outside until we can find homes somewhere else for them.
So we have a lot of questions coming through. Lupe would like to know what happened to Sarabi's tail.
So I'm not 100% sure what happened to Sarabi's tail, because that happened at the facility she was born at, way before she came to us. But what we were told is her tail got damaged somehow, I think by another lion. And when the vets went to see what they could do to help save it, it was just too damaged. So they ended up amputating her tail. But it really doesn't affect her too much because she's not a climbing cat. She's not a cheetah that needs it as a rudder to when running really fast. She gets along really well with it. She actually is our best climber when she decides to climb the trees in here. She has done that a couple times. She hasn't done it in a little while. I think she's getting old now. She doesn't want to do that crazy young stuff anymore. But it doesn't make her any less attractive to Tao. She's got 3 beautiful cubs, so she's doing good.
How do you all safely clean their enclosure?
So what we do to clean their enclosure is first thing in the morning we come in, we open up their bedrooms that we have in the building and bring everybody inside. We'll feed them their breakfast first thing, kind of again that exchange, hey, if you'll come inside for me, you're going to get something good. So they go inside, they get some food, and then once they're secure, we'll come out here, clean the yard, put out their enrichment. Today's enrichment is this big blue toy. It's called a Tipsy Tom. It's kind of like a Weeble Wobble. If they knock it, it'll come back up to standing. And then make sure everything's set and secure for them, let them back out, and then we'll clean their bedrooms afterwards. So that way it's always contact free with them. So anytime we do come in contact with them, it's going to be through a fence like you saw the training session at the beginning of this Facebook Live.
Does the dad ever come over and eat with the girls?
He will. It's one of those things where it's not motivated enough to come to the training wall and try to compete with the girls for the space there. But when we bring them in the morning, we'll actually separate them all out into separate bedrooms so that we know how much everyone's getting. That way, one cat is not eating all of the food and becoming obese, and all the other cats are not getting enough food. So we'll separate them out, and they all have certain amounts that they get based on their age and their weight and all that, to make sure that they're staying at a healthy weight range. So sometimes though he will decide that, no, you know what, I want this, and he'll tell them, and they'll probably let him have it if he's adamant about it.
At what age does a male lion start to grow his mane?
I'm gonna say probably around 2 is when they really start to look like a male lion. They'll start getting this like weird, awkward mohawk a little bit before that. They definitely hit that like awkward stage where they're just a little extra hairy but don't quite have a full mane. It's very cute. But I'd say around 2.5 is when they start looking like, oh, that's a male lion there. They sleep about 20 hours a day. So they sleep most of the time. So if you come to the zoo and you see the lions, chances are they're going to be sleeping. They'll be most active early in the morning when it's cooler, or late into the almost evening time, again, when it's cooler. And then the hot parts of the day, they're going to sleep it away. A lot of animals in Africa tend to operate that way. They don't want to be expending energy and getting dehydrated by expending that energy at the hottest parts of the day. So to conserve energy, conserve water, which is a precious commodity in Africa, they're going to do as least amount possible when it's really, really hot out. So it ends up that they sleep about 20 hours a day. And that's just cats. So how we ask them to come to the training wall is we just basically slide the door open, and they know then something is going to happen over there. We don't open that door every single day. So if it's being open, then something interesting might happen, and then they decide, hey, they usually come over, see what we have, and then decide from there, like, oh, you guys have whipped cream and meat, then we're probably doing a training session, and I don't know if I want to work for that today, or yes, I totally want to work for that today. Or if we have the rope, Excel's usually like, yes, I really want to play with that rope and pull on it. So she's usually over here pretty quickly for that. And if they don't come over, then they just don't get whipped cream, they don't get the rope, and they don't get the meat, the little extra meat. So we have a specific amount of training meat that is set aside. So that is not their main meal for the day. They all got their main meals this morning. So we're not withholding anything in that way. So it's all voluntary, and it's just extra on top of the other stuff to ask them to work with us.
When you say that you slide the door open, what do you mean?
I mean that this whole door slides back and forth. So we can slide it shut when we aren't working here. That way it's nice and secure and safe for all of our guests to come and see the lions. And then, because we don't want any little fingers going through the fencing. And then we open it when we're gonna either work with the cats or do a tug of war if that's what's happening that day. So it's on a sliding mechanism. And when it's shut, it just has really cool facts about cats. Currently, there is not more plans. Tao and Sarabi's bloodlines are pretty well represented as far as lions go. So the species survival plan has told us to hold off on having any more lion cubs right now, especially since we don't have the space to house more lion cubs in addition to what we already have. We're pretty much at capacity for lions, so it'd be a little irresponsible of us to continue to have cubs without moving at least the two boys out to other homes. So in the meantime, since we don't want babies, but we still have dad in with mom, she's actually on birth control. They do make birth control for animals. It's similar to what we have in humans, but she does have a birth control implant in her thigh, and that helps us make sure that we don't have any unexpected surprises and helps us stay at capacity with our lions.
Who gets to name the cubs?
So for our lion cubs, what we did was they auctioned off at a fundraiser. Since we are a nonprofit, we do run on donations. So we auctioned off at a donation event the rights to name the lions, and so Tony Parker was the one that generously won that auction, and he named our lion cubs. I believe he also named our jaguar cubs, so that's pretty awesome.
Do lions mate for life?
No, they don't. So the females will all stay in their pride, and then a male will come in, and the male will be in charge of the pride, and he'll have won that from the previous male. Males on average hold on to a pride about 2 years before another younger, stronger male will come in and take over the pride from him. So that is also, it's sad, but also it's good for genetics if you go back to that genetics thing, because if lions are ready to mate at 2 years of age, all of the previous male's daughters at 2 years will be ready to mate, and we don't want dad mating with his daughters. So if dad gets kicked out at 2 years and a new male comes in, then that keeps the genetics fresh again. So a lot of these mechanisms that we see in the dynamics have to do with the best genetics for the species to survive long term. Yes, so their favorite food treat is going to be sugar-free whipped cream. They love sugar-free whipped cream. It is crazy how you see their eyes light up when they see the can of whipped cream. And then favorite toys, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. They really like this Tipsy Tom, just because it moves differently than a lot of their other toys. A lot of their toys are going to be like a big boomer ball. Well, you hit it and it rolls. And that's pretty predictable, but the Tipsy Tom has that weighted bottom, so when they hit it, they can't predict how it's going to move, and it's going to pop back up at them. So they can tackle it, and then it's going to kind of like quote unquote fight back, because it's going to try to right itself back up. So it's a little bit different for them. Excel really likes it. She also likes hiding behind it so she can sneak up on her parents and tackle them.
What are the lions' names?
Their lions' names. So the one sitting up front here is Excel. The one laying on the rock is Sarabi. And Dad, who's laying in the back up against the wall, is Tao. Yes. So Sarabi and Excel do. If the vultures fly in there, they will go after them. They're not hungry. They just like to play with them, and it's a different enrichment toy for them to play with. So the vultures tend to get pretty smart about it, and we have noticed that they figured out when the girls are out versus when the two brothers are out, because the brothers aren't as skilled at hunting, it seems. So the vultures are a little bit more daring when the two boys are out versus when they see Sarabi and Excel out. They pretty much stay clear for the most part. You always get that one vulture that decides that, no, you know what, I can go in there. And then, yeah. Got any other? Got lots of questions.
Gilbert, who's one of our top fans, and I've seen you pop up on a lot of our Facebook Lives, Gilbert. He would like to know what your schedule is like as a zookeeper.
As a zookeeper, so our schedule, we come in at 7 o'clock. We do rounds, check on everybody in our sections in our department, and then we start cleaning and feeding on a normal day. We will have to have like several animals, like the lions, the tigers, the rhinos, the giraffes. They all have to be out before the zoo opens. So sometimes our hours vary. If we're opening at 9 a.m., then we have to have them out by 9 a.m. If we're opening at 10 a.m., you know, whatever our opening hour is when we have to have some of those big animals that everyone wants to come see out. And then we'll pretty much be cleaning and feeding throughout the day. We'll get most of our stuff done by lunchtime, so around noon. And then after lunchtime, depending on how our day is looking, we'll do our husbandry training, we'll do some observations of our animals, see how they're behaving, and see make new enrichments. We do build a lot of our own enrichment stuff here, so we may make new toys for the animals to help facilitate other natural behaviors, things like that. And extra projects, we'll haul substrate into some yards, we'll fix fences, and we're kind of jack of all trades. We fix things and we clean things.
Jennifer is watching, and she says that her daughter Kara is learning all about adaptations.
Okay.
Can you go over any physical or behavioral adaptations that lions have to be successful in their environment?
Yeah, so some adaptations that the lions have to be successful, one of them is that they're the only social cat. And the reason that they're a social cat is because they've decided that like working together as a team helps them be more successful at hunting. So other cats are all mostly solitary, and they have about a 10% success rate when they're hunting. Lions, on the other hand, since the females all work as a team to hunt together, they double that to 20% successful. So think of it as if they go to the grocery store 10 times, they get to bring home food twice. So that's still better than the solitary cat's hunting numbers. Another adaptation they have is that their coloration. Now, right now, you see these like golden tawny cats in the green grass, and you're like, they're not hiding, they don't have camouflage. But in here, sometimes people come up and they do not see the cats, and they're laying out in the grass or up against the back wall, and people cannot see them. Their camouflage is actually really good. But then also imagine if they're in the tall brown grasses in Africa, they will be invisible to their predators. And so, I mean, their prey. They are the predators. So they'll be invisible to their prey, and they'll be able to sneak up quite close before they actually have to initiate the hunt. But they can be near invisible. So that color helps them with that. And then the mane on Tau, the males, they have that big fluffy mane, and part of that helps them when they're fighting other males for territory and pride. That mane acts kind of like almost like a helmet. It helps protect their neck and throat area so that the fights might not be as lethal. We have 5 lions in total. They're broken up into 2 groups. So we have this group that has 1 male, the dad, and then the 2 females, mom and daughter. And then the other group has the 2 brothers of Excel. And so we have total 3 boys, 2 girls.
When do they typically roar, and what makes them do so?
So what makes them roar is usually they roar first thing in the morning. When they're let out in the morning, after their yard's been cleaned and everything, whoever goes outside usually does a little, I can't think of the word, patrol. They patrol around the perimeter of the habitat, and they'll usually, if it's these 3, Tau will do the patrol around his territory, and then he will roar while he's doing it, and it's a territorial roar. And usually if he's doing a territorial roar, Sarabi will join in, and they'll do that roar together to let all the other lions in San Antonio know that this is their territory and to stay out and not bother them. Excel really doesn't participate in the territory roar too often. I've seen her maybe once do 1 roar in the middle of it, but mostly it's Tau and Sarabi. And then when they get going, the boys will get going inside and they'll roar back. And so they'll kind of talk back and forth. So usually it's first thing in the morning is when you get that big main roar where everybody gets going. Other than that, I have no idea what else makes them do it. Sometimes they just decide to do it in the middle of the day. It's usually if Tau's trying to let somebody know something.
Any chance you want to give us a demonstration of?
Absolutely not. I can't do it justice. So, I mean, it's not that good. It is interesting though, because Sarabi's roar is actually almost sounds a little bit lower, like a little bit lower register than Tau's. Tau's is a little bit high. I don't want to say high pitch. It's still a low pitch, but hers is just a little bit more bass, which I find interesting. But
so there's a common misconception that animals in a zoo can just be returned or released into the wild. Misha's asking if they can be released, and if not, can you explain why?
As far as releasing back into the wild, well, one of the main issues with that is that the wild is not safe. And there's already lions in the preserves and stuff, so the safest areas, there's already lions there that have their territories. So there's the territorial issue, where are you going to put them? How are they going to get along with the resident lions? Are the resident lions just going to be like, nope, and there's going to be a fight for the territory, which isn't a great way to start your new life out in Africa. But then there's also they've never been there. They don't know where the best places are to find the prey, where the best places are to find the water. That's usually something that your family would teach you over time. So, the pride matriarchs and male that's in charge of the pride, he would be like, all right, it's now July, the water's drying up here, we need to go in this direction because water is in that direction, because that's where my mom taught me that water was, and that's where her mom taught her. And so they know through like a history of doing those migrations and following the prey where everything is. And so if we were to put these guys back out, they would have to learn all that. It's not something that they would just innately know, like if I walk 1,000 miles to Kenya, I'll be able to find this watering hole where everyone else is. They don't know that. So it's a lot of that as well. I mean, ideally, if we could figure out a way to teach them all that, but it's a long way. It would be a long ways off. First, we have to make the wild a safe place for them. They are victims to poaching, and they are victims to habitat fragmentation. There's humans that live there. So if we put lions in there and they get pushed out of the preserves, they're going to be in a human area, and then the humans are not going to want a pride of lions living with them in their towns and their cities. So it's a space issue as well. So there's a lot of ways to become a zookeeper. There's not one set way to do it. How I became a zookeeper was I went to school for it. So I have a bachelor's degree in zoology, and then I have an associate's degree in zoo animal technology, which I went to a school that had a zoo on the college campus, and the students are the zookeepers, and we learned how to take care of those animals there. And then but some people do like a lot of internships and volunteer work. It's a very competitive field to get into. Like there's a lot of people that want to be zookeepers and not in just a finite number of jobs. So if you're serious about wanting to be a zookeeper, any volunteer and animal experience you can get to help bolster your resume is a plus and actually a must. So you want to get a lot of experience. I know there's a lot of people that are like, I want to work with big cats, and it's great. I was that kid too. I wanted to work with big cats. I wanted to work with lions and tigers. But everybody wants to work with lions and tigers because they're really cool. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people do. But you find as you start getting into the field that you have to be open to all the animals, working with any of them. I worked with birds for 5 years, even though I wanted to work with lions and tigers. Well, look where I am now. I'm working with lions and tigers because I worked with birds for 5 years. And sometimes you find that an animal that you thought you wanted to work with, you just don't have the personality to work with that animal. You can admire them, but it's just not something you want to work with when it comes to the personalities and what you need to do to be patient with them. So some people find like, oh, I wanted to work with cats, and then they find out that they're actually a bird person and they get along with birds. They like taking care of birds, and that's where they need to be. They may still like cats, but they actually have the perfect personality to work with birds or work with reptiles or work with primates. And you'll find especially if you go back and look at a lot of our Facebook Lives, you can probably tell that a lot of the people that work with different animals, they have very different personalities and they kind of match up with their animals. Like if you watch the Talk on Zebras by Zach, he is a zebra person. If you watch the talk about primates, those are people that really like their primates. Bird people really like their birds, and they just have little different personalities. So it kind of depends on what what?
Fish people.
Fish
Nelson.
people, yeah. Nelson, he loves his fish and his tanks, and that's perfect. I don't want to have to work on life support systems with water tanks. That is not my forte, so I'm not going to try and do it. The oldest one is going to be Tao, but he only is older than Sarabi by a couple months. So they are both 11 years old. They'll both turn 12 by the end of this year. But Sarabi turns 12 in November, and Tao turns 12 in October, I think.
Kara would like to know when males get their mane, but can you also explain if all males get a mane, whether they're dominant or not?
So most males do get a mane. At least all three of ours that we have here have manes. Sometimes they've found that dominance will affect like how full the mane gets. They start growing that mane around, I'd say about 1.5 years old is when they'll start getting their like mohawk. They'll start looking more like a male with the bigger mane around 2.5 years, 2.5 years. Right now, our boys are going to be 5 in July, and they basically have full manes. And it's kind of interesting with the two, Josh and Tony, like Josh is hairier than Tony is, but Tony acts a little bit more dominant than Josh. So it's kind of, it has to do a lot with their hormone levels, the testosterone, genetics. Tao has a darker mane, so both his boys have a lot of that black coloration in their manes as well. But sometimes the black color in the mane also indicates dominance. So it kind of varies a little bit, but most males will get some sort of mane. If there's not a male around, some females will get kind of like hairier around their cheeks and stuff. They will not grow a full mane, but the dominant female may get like really long hair around her cheeks, and it looks like a pseudo mane, which is interesting. I don't think scientists completely know why that happens. It's something that they're still learning. We're still learning about all these animals, and that's one of the great things about them being in our care, is that we can learn more about them so we can take better care and understand our world a little bit better out in the wild as well.
Can you explain again why we have 3 lions out and then rotate?
Yeah, so we have these 3 lions out, and then who we have inside is Josh and Tony. It's the brothers to Excel. So they're 5 years old, just like she is. And what happens is, in the wild, when the male cubs get to be about 2.5 years old, they are kicked out of the pride they are born into. Everybody says, you are adult, move out, find your own home somewhere else. And so the males will go off for, it could be up to about a year, wandering around by themselves, hunting and fending for themselves, and until they find a pride that they want to take over, and then they will challenge the male of that other pride and take it over. Or not, depends on how they do fighting. But that helps move the genetics. So that keeps, like in this case, Sarabi's sons, it will move them away from her. So when they're ready to mate and have babies, they're not trying to do that with their mom or with their sister. They're now somewhere else where they're with females that are unrelated to them. So because of that, and that's something that's a natural dynamic for their family structure, when our 2 boys, Josh and Tony, got to be about 2.5 years old, Dad and Mom said, get out. And so what we did was we've separated them and run them as 2 separate groups. So these 3 are out today, but tomorrow, if we were to film this Facebook Live, Josh and Tony would be out here. So everybody gets equal chance to be out in the yard and also inside. And inside, I mean, they have some fairly nice bedrooms. Sarabi loves being inside, actually. So it's not too much of a hardship for her, especially alternating days. But so that everybody gets a chance outside and inside, and then hopefully the species survival plan will give us a recommendation of somewhere to send the boys, and we can send them to another facility so they can have a home somewhere else. So that is why we have 2 separate groups. Okay.
What's your favorite part about interacting with the lions?
My favorite part about interacting with the lions is going to have to be training Sarabi. It's a real privilege to be able to have that relationship with a cat or with any animal. But since I was like that little kid at the zoo that was like, I want to grow up, I'm going to work with cats, I'm going to work with lions and tigers, and now to be here as an adult and be working with them, it's just really awesome. And so I really enjoy the relationship I have with her, that she will cooperate with me and work with me to better her health care, is pretty amazing. If you guys happen to have caught the vet tech talk that Jackie gave up at our health center, she talked about doing different things for the animals' welfare. She mentioned doing blood draws. I believe she mentioned Sarabi with the lion that has no tail, how we did an arm blood draw with her, and being able to help work with that, work with our maintenance staff and the vet staff to come up with a way that we could safely do that so that we could take the best care of her as she gets older. I mean, she's above average age for lions now. It's just really awesome. And so then the relationship that I built with her over the past few years that she's been here led to her trusting me to put her arm in a sleeve and do a voluntary blood draw. And that's just awesome to me that we can have that bond. So that's my favorite part about working with these lions. They're so cool.
Can you let people know that if they missed the training,
Oh.
once this video is over, they can go back and watch
Yeah.
it from the beginning?
So if anybody joined in a little bit late, like midway through this video, I definitely recommend going back to the beginning and checking it out. We did a training session showing off some of the husbandry training that our cats will do to help us take better care of them. So that's at the beginning of this video, so definitely go back and check that out. If you haven't been following all of our Facebook Lives, they're all on the Facebook page. There's some really interesting information. Everybody's really passionate about telling you guys information about our animals, so go back, check some of those out. They're really cool. You can learn about bears and birds and fish, everything. So also want to take a opportunity to thank everyone that's donated. It means so much to us that you guys are supporting us. We miss you guys. Hopefully you'll be able to come to the zoo soon and check out all the cool things that we've been showing you on our Facebook Lives. But thank you so much for everyone that's donated. If you don't have the means to donate, we still appreciate you too. Just like the video, share the video, tell your friends, come visit us when you can. And we just appreciate and miss you guys. So thank you for tuning in and asking questions, and have a great day, guys.